Welcome everybody to Late Night with Journalists Live Worldwide, starring Sherida Lovelace, and here's our star, Sherida.
Hey, what's up, everybody? Welcome to Late Night TV with Royce Live and Positive Power. I am your co-host, Sherida Lovelace. And listen, I'm so excited about tonight's show. I don't think you can get me off my seat because I'm plugged right here, ready to hear some awesome nuggets from a beautiful woman that we have on tonight's show. But listen, first, I want to say thank you to all the listeners and viewers that support Late Night TV. Listen, we've been having a great time in this season. We've been highlighting some phenomenal guests, some phenomenal artists, people in the industry. It's just been amazing. And we thank you for your continued support, following and hanging out with us on this late night hour, because I know it's late where you're at, but thanks for hanging with us. And hey, as I always say, kick those shoes off, grab your hot tea, and let's just have a conversation, because I know you'll get a nugget out of every show that we do that'll bless your life, if not for you, but for someone else. So listen, without further delay, I'm going to go right into my beautiful guest on tonight, y'all. I'm excited. So take a listen. I have tonight with me the beautiful artist, Tiffany Bynoe. She is here. Let me tell you, if you don't know her name, she is the niece to Howard Hewitt, former Shalimar singer. We're going to get into a little bit about that because he gave me a charge in one of his messages. So we're going to talk about that tonight. But she's from Akron, Ohio. She's been in the entertainment industry, as you know, for a while, even by me sharing her uncle, and I'm just excited to hear about how all of that family filled with music has inspired her. We're going to talk about that tonight, because even at the tender age of 3, she really just had a love for the industry. So we'll share with you all through her about what that experience was about. She went to the Apollo, not once, not twice, but 3 times a winner. And so that's just phenomenal at the age of 16. We'll talk a little bit about who she's toured with, you know, in terms of SWV, Jade, H-Town, Big Daddy Kane, and so many others. And so we'll hear about that journey, those experiences as well. And we'll also hear a little bit about her daughter. We'll talk about the condition that she has, and I'm going to let her share a little bit more about that when we get to her, but how she's had 2 open heart surgeries. But let me tell you, we're looking and listening tonight to a woman who knows how to balance the industry and momhood. And so that's a beautiful thing. So tonight, I hope somebody is really encouraged. So without further delay, let's get right into our interview with a music recording artist, superstar, super mom, Tiffany Bynoe. Tiffany, welcome to Late Night TV.
Oh, thank you so much. I'm glad to be with you.
Listen, I'm glad to have you on tonight. I'm excited to hear about your journey. And also for those that are listening and watching to hear too, and hopefully we can encourage someone who, you know, wants to know what it's like to be in the industry. What do I do with my gift, my passion, and how does life itself play a role? So let's talk a little bit about that. So we know you've come from an awesome family of singers. Again, your uncle is Howard Hewitt, former lead singer of Shalimar. And I know you've had some influence, if I'm not correct, even from your grandmother, but you grew up around a musically inclined family. Am I correct?
Yes, I did. And actually both sides of my family. My mom and my dad met by my dad was the bass player, and my mom, she sung with the Hewitt Singers, where my uncle was the lead singer. And so that's how my mom and my dad met, through music, you know? And so it was always a part of, you know, every day. It was just a part of life for me. And I remember when I was 3 years old, and you know how people go back and they ask you, you know, when did you start loving music? And it's interesting because when I go back to that time, I remember I would be laying on the ground and the vibration from the songs my mom would play, because I think every Black mom cleaned their house out on Saturday mornings with music.
Yes. Yeah, my mother did every Saturday, and the record player was playing. Yes.
Yeah, I would tell what mood she was in by the music she was playing. You know? But when I was 3, I would lay down on the ground, and I guess it was the vibrations, you know, because you had the album then. And so I guess it was the vibrations of the music that I really fell in love with. And then I remember another thing is I would sit behind my dad as a little girl, and I would put my ear to his back, and I just loved to hear his voice. And it was just a vibration that I loved. And I saw that back then is when I really fell in love with, not so much music at the moment, but vibration,
Wow, that's
Yeah.
amazing. Because there's something about music, if we just kind of talk about what you just said about the vibration,
Yeah.
it does something to our soul.
Thank
Music has its own voice. It's a
Yes.
language, and it's almost when I'm hearing you say that this voice, this language was being deposited into your spirit. This
Yeah.
is amazing.
Isn't
And
that something?
yeah.
And then I also spoke three things from that place in my life. Well, when I turned maybe about 5 years old, I spoke three things. I didn't know life and death was in the power of the tongue then,
Woo.
but I know, so I used to speak that I was going to do the Apollo. I was going to win the Apollo Theater.
Oh my
I was going
God.
to do Soul Train, and I was going to win
Mhm.
Grammys. Well, I didn't get to the Grammys yet, but I did the Apollo Theater. I won that 3 times, and then I stepped in. I did Soul Train with the one and only Don Cornelius. So it was like I was speaking those things into existence, and I didn't know
Wow.
it then. And isn't it interesting how graceful he is that even when we don't know something, but we work a principle, that you yield fruit from it.
Oh my God. Yes. That is powerful. Listen, those of you that are starting to listen to this interview already, I want you to know exactly what she said. There is death and life in the power of your tongue. And so we're speaking life to you tonight, because I know there's something on somebody's heart or in your spirit. You're like, I just need this to come to pass. We'll speak it. And if it's in the will of God, it shall be so. I'm excited. We're hearing an example on tonight. So this is exciting. And so you're starting this love of music. It's growing. Age 3, you 5, you become a 3-time Apollo winner. During this journey at the Apollo, did you realize, okay, this is where I want to go? What was it like being 16 years old, coming back to that stage 3 times? What did you understand at that point about the industry or what you were called to do?
Well, you know what? I tell you what, I was the type of young girl who I went through a lot. I went through a lot of, issues with my skin and just a lot.
Wow.
And I felt very insecure. And
Wow.
so I asked myself, what is it that allowed me to have the courage to get up there and do that,
Yeah.
feeling that way about myself. And like you said, it was like God was preparing me from a little child.
Mm,
One thing I loved about New York is that New York just, if you could sing, they didn't really care about what you look like. I mean,
look at
that
that.
wasn't really the big issue. So God was really
Yeah.
using that platform to really, build my confidence up until everything matched. And then I was able to move forward with it. But it was like, no matter, because of me and my, what I saw, how I saw
Yeah.
myself, how I viewed myself, I didn't think I was, I knew I could sing, but
Right.
this was bothering me.
Wow. Amazing.
And the reason why that bothered me is because there was a lot of things that were spoken to me, spoken
Mm.
as a young girl, that I've always been a thin, frail girl. My dad's thin and tall. So I've always been a thin, tall girl. And I've come to grips with that's who I am, and I love it.
Yeah.
But it's interesting that when you're growing up, you have to be careful who you put around your children.
That's right.
Because sometimes they can speak things that what happens is when they become an adult, you don't realize that that is there, that it's penetrated and that it's now become a seed and it's grown until you become an adult and you look
Oh
in
my
the mirror. I
God.
don't like this about myself.
Oh my God.
God will begin to show you how to change those things and become the image of him, so that you are so content with who God created you to be that no matter what anybody else says, but we have to get to that place. What I'm saying? So if I'm young and you walk in, and okay, I remember a family member would come to me and we would always have like these big gatherings, and she
Right.
would wait until there was like totally a whole room of people. And she would say, "Oh my gosh, you're so skinny." You know? So for me, I'm like, wait, what's wrong with me? What's wrong with me?
Right.
Because these are
Right.
people that I'm looking to mold my world. And I was admiring. So I'm like,
Yes.
well, what's wrong? So you grow up thinking like that when you realize there's nothing wrong with me. There was maybe something wrong with you.
Oh my God. That's it. That's amazing. It reminds me of Now, this is not the case today. Let me put that disclaimer out
Yeah,
there.
absolutely.
But my uncle would say, we'd have a family event, and my uncle would say, that he needed to take me to the hip shop. And I was like, what do you mean? Because he would tell my mom, because she don't have no hips. She don't have no hips or whatever. And so it was, you're I'm just, let me just say that
Exactly.
story came to mind, right?
Yeah.
When you're saying that, which demonstrates and confirms exactly what you're saying,
Yep.
how when we're older, it can impact or influence our thinking, even while we're young, because I'm
Yep.
thinking, wow, well, now I have hips. I'm trying to get some of it
Okay.
off. But at the time, I remember that and I didn't like it. I'm like, why do I have to go to the hip store? Why do I have to go? And so that's amazing how it impacts our growing up. You being an awesome singer at a young age and around this musically inclined family, going to school or hanging with your friends, did you feel different at all in that aspect as well?
I really did. I did. Because my
Wow.
mom, one of the good things about my mom is she, as well as my grandmother, noticed that I had this gift. And so my
Yeah.
mom was like, okay, she didn't really have all the techniques, but she knew what she knew.
Yeah. Yeah.
So she would have me master. I had to do Barbara Streisand, Whitney Houston,
Wow.
all these different types of voices, but it wasn't like I would sing it to her and she'd be like, okay, I didn't hear you. And so that's
Wow.
how my practice was with my mom from 4 to 9 o'clock. Almost, it would pretty much be every day unless she knew I had something that was important with my friends that I wanted to do, and she would
Right.
go do that. But it wasn't even so much a let, because I was so. The interesting thing is, being that we grew up in a family, my family was very hands-on in the community and things like that. My grandmother
Yeah.
was part of the head of the NAACP with
Oh,
Miss
wow.
Favorite, yeah. And not only that, she was inducted in the Radio Hall of Fame, and so she was really a pillar in this city. And so I remember I remember being in junior high school, and there was this one choir teacher, and she would
Mhm.
guide me, because at that time I was learning, so I was a belter, I was just belting notes.
Ah,
And she would
okay.
say, you don't sing like that. But the way she did it, because I was always so timid and always in that place anyway, the way
Right.
she did it, it was like an attack.
Wow.
And I really didn't want to do choir anymore. So I stepped out of choir, and that's when my mom stepped in and she said, okay, well, if you're going to leave choir, this is what you're going to do. So we
Right.
went from 4 to 9. And it was interesting because my senior year of high school, being that I had dropped out of choir and I had really not done much in music. Now in New York I did, but in my hometown I didn't. So my
Right.
peers were like, "Oh, she's not singing anymore," da 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 da. So we had a senior star search, and I went and auditioned for it. And my counselor says, "Well," she called me in the office afterwards, and she says, "Listen," she said, "Well, we can't have you in the contest because you're way too advanced." She said, "So what we can do is we'll have you at the end of the show as a special attraction, but nobody needs to know." You know what I mean? And that's how
Wow.
and I didn't mind, because all I wanted to do was show my peers that
Yeah.
you know,
Wow. Wow. I like that. That helps. That helps the self-esteem and everything else. I know, even at that time.
yeah,
And so, you're growing in this place, and you're getting this from, school and family, etc. What was your process at that time? Did you connect after high school to any type of label? Talk about some of the people that begin to become engraved in your life, that started to really cultivate you in the industry. I know you had toured with some great people, but prior to that, how did you get into the place where you're like, all right, here we go. I'm in
yes,
the studio.
absolutely. I met Mickey Eichner, and Mickey Eichner became my manager. And at that
Okay.
time, he was really, really big. He worked for CBS for 17 and a half years.
Oh,
So
wow.
he really knew the business. And so I linked up with him. And once I linked up with him, I moved to New York 2 weeks after I graduated high school. And then
Ah,
2 months after I was in New York, I had a deal with Elektra Records through Mickey Eichner. I had 3 deals on the table, but this was the one that he wanted me to go with, because he said it was a new label and it would give me more of an opportunity to be, the fresh girl on the label.
right.
And
Right.
so you want to hear something interesting is that back then my manager told me that, okay, well, we're going to have to change your name. because at that time there was the pop singer that was coming out named Tiffany. And I can't remember what her last name, but just for the sake of not remembering it, forgive me, but it was like a Mecca Fee or Meccanol or something like that.
Okay.
And so I had to change my name because she was coming out and they didn't want to have any confusion,
Oh, wow.
I didn't understand that. I mean, now I don't understand it, but then I was like, hey, I'm young. Okay.
Yeah, sure.
And so, so what we decided to do was just take the F's out. So we got Tene, instead of Tiffany, and Tiffany,
Wow.
we just did Tene. And so interesting enough is about 5 years ago, I get this email from the pop singer Tiffany. And I don't think it was directly from her, but I think it was somebody that saw her interview and sent it to me. And on the interview, because see, in the beginning of my demo, when I did my demo stuff to get my deal, I did all big ballads. Because that's where my heart was at that time.
Yeah.
Big ballads, pop music. And so as well, that's what they called it then. So anyway, I get this interview from her. I mean, this thing from her, and she's on the thing is, where are you now? Or where are you today?
Yeah.
And she's in the middle of the interview and she goes, yeah, well, and mind you, my manager and her manager were best friends.
Oh, wow.
Yeah. So she goes, well, my manager wanted me to change my name to Tiffany Williams. I knew that would get you.
Wow. Wow.
And it's still on YouTube until this day. Like, you could find it for yourself. It's on YouTube, and I'm like,
right.
What the heck?
Oh my goodness.
And
Okay, this is
found out
good.
that after all these years that I changed my name to Tene Williams, and I have no ownership to that name.
Wow. No ownership to that name.
No ownership. So, if there's anything for the younger people to look at, is to know your business.
Oh my God.
And to be, the things that, because what they'll do is they'll surround you with their lawyers and their this and their that. So you're still stuck in square one, not knowing for yourself.
Right. Because you're excited about probably what's about to happen. Yes. You're using your gift. You're like, yes, I need to be on stage.
And I dreamed of it. And it's like, oh my God, now it's here. And it's like, you walk into it and you're like, oh.
Right. Yeah.
But I believe this with all my heart. And this is just me. And I know there's a place for the younger generation to excel. And I support that. But I believe that when it comes to really having something to say, you have not been through anything. You don't have any substance in you. You have nothing in you until you at least hit 30.
Come on.
Because at the end of the day, the only thing that's going to happen is you're going to get out there and get tripped up. And whatever the case may be, hopefully not. But most of the percentages wage on that side,
Sure.
So it's, if you really want to know something, really talk to somebody more seasoned so that they can give you the ins and outs and the ups and downs, and and that's where we miss it at with there's such a gap to where they are very talented. And yes, you are very, very talented, but at the same time, you need my wisdom.
That's right. Oh my God. That is so key, because even looking today at a lot of the artists that are coming out, despite your genre, just kind of even looking how they're evolving or going, you're still getting some that are great talented, but there's a hit and miss going on somewhere, or you find out later there's been an issue or a money situation here. And so it's part of it's probably they just don't know, pride. But again, that's part of what is great about this platform, and especially tonight, because you can say by not only being in those situations what you've had to go through, and to try to encourage someone, say, hey, don't do this. I'm like the walking example.
That's right.
And so, but with that too, as you've moved forward in the industry, so you have the collaborations, it looks like. And so there was SWV, Jade, Big Daddy Kane. I know there's others. How did you have any type of similar challenges as you were collaborating with them? One thing I wanted to find out from you, not only any challenges, but also there was at some point a genre shift in your life. And I didn't know if that had your collaborations had any impact on that. So talk about that collaboration with these different artists in the secular industry, and what that did to you, and how it's impacting you now.
Yeah. You know what? I think God has remember I talked about that shy, timid girl?
Yes.
I think a part of her was needed for, because I was very shy and timid. I get on stage, I could be Diana Ross, I could do whatever I wanted to be, whoever I wanted to be, But when off stage, it was just very hard for me to connect, and I was very So I remember the guys would come to my hotel and they would be like, hey, you want to go have cocktails or you want to go do something? No, thank you.
Right.
I was that girl, it's like, my mother raised me to where I wasn't like, that girl to be like very
Yeah.
sexually promiscuous or anything like
Right.
that, so I was very, very standoffish about a lot of things because
Wow.
of how I viewed myself pretty much, and I
Wow.
think that was kind of like a thing that saved me from being one of
Mm.
those girls that been around the block and I,
Right. Oh my gosh.
Yes.
Wow. So
Yeah.
it is almost a blessing in disguise because even with probably a lot of those that you've toured with and collaborated with before,
Yeah.
you were being tested. God was
Yeah.
probably testing
Yeah.
you because he knew these songs that we're going to talk about in just a moment that will come out that speak of him and his blessings, etc. And you can speak from experience or just speak from the strength of who God is in the midst of that. Who was your favorite collaboration? Anyone your favorite?
I would have to say my favorite collaboration would be my uncle. It would
Look
have
at
to be
that.
my uncle.
Mr.
Yeah.
Howard Hewitt.
Yeah. 'Cause that,
Yeah.
it's funny because anybody that knows my uncle knows how, when he gets into his little talk and he talks out the side of his mouth like that, when he does that, right? So we would try to figure out, we're like, okay, because, we have to do a song together, we
Yeah.
have to do a song together. And so we're both sitting there and we're trying to figure it out. But before we got to that place, my uncle would go, shoot, I can't do a love song with my niece, and he would just shoot, it's so funny because it was true. It's like he does love
Yeah.
songs, I do love songs, I sing about the
Yeah.
Lord, he sings about the Lord. Okay, now how do we
Yeah.
do this? And
Right.
so
Right.
what we did is we began to turn it around to what we love, which is family. And
Oh,
we began to sing
wow.
about family with each other. And I would have to say that that would be one of my greatest collaborations because I know my grandmother's looking down and just overwhelmed.
Oh, oh my God. It is beautiful. It's legacy.
Yes.
It's legacy. It's beautiful. And it just is something about when families can come together like that. And I say that because we're in a season where so many families were tested from the season of the pandemic to now. So many families and people were tested, whether you're gifted or you're not. And to be able to say, I've connected in one of the greatest collaborations or experiences, or me and mom and dad went and we did this for the homeless or whatever. Those are the things to remember, and we take it for granted. Some people do, so that's amazing. And so here you have a process, I believe, and I want to know if there is when you begin to do music. So I know you have a new single out, but there's some other songs that you wrote. One was Be Still and Know I Am God. Another was Seasons. And what was your process in writing those songs? Tell us a little bit about those, and your why.
Yes,
With those.
what God has always put in me, I've always been conscious of the energy and of the air and what I sing about.
Mm,
I've always been conscious of that because even if it's a love song, see, one of the things that I
yeah,
realize they say, well, how can you do gospel and R&B? Well, see, when
yeah.
the river is pure and it's flowing from a pure place,
Woo, come
it
on.
does the same thing.
Mm,
It does the same thing. There was I did a show at the Sugar Bar, and my
yeah,
pastors came and they sat right there with me, and
yeah.
and it was interesting because afterwards, my pastor's wife Dr. Barb looks at me and she goes, "Girl, if there was ever a time
Oh,
I saw what God was doing, I saw it then." And she said that she sat next to a man who just separated from his wife, had been married, I guess, for 30 years or so. Excuse
wow.
me. But he separated from his wife. And the songs that I was singing was like, um, pretty much like, going back to the love and not
Mm,
allowing distractions to really take away from the beauty that you once saw, because the beauty
yeah,
that you saw isn't on the outside. It was on the
right,
inside. And true love is hard to find anymore.
right.
And
Yeah,
is hard to find anymore,
come
And
on.
so when he sat and talked to her and talked about how he wanted to go and restore his relationship with his wife,
Oh
you
my
know what I'm
God.
saying? And
Mm,
so
mm,
when you
mm.
asked me about my music and the different types of music,
Yeah.
I realized that God always had me singing through the seasons of my life.
Mm, I
Yeah.
love it. Yeah.
And so there were some seasons, and see what happened with me when I began to shift things from the Tene Williams to Tiffany Bynoe. What changed that was my daughter was born, and she was born with dextrocardia.
Right.
And dextrocardia is where your heart is reversed. And, and at the time she was the third child in the country to ever have it. So they didn't even know what to do, and I had to really be front and center with her because I'm like, she's not a squirrel. She's not a guinea pig.
Come on.
She's not that, so you're not going to be progging,
right.
trying to, and I had to really be like front and center to make sure none of that would happen,
Right.
And so, but, God's grace is so sufficient and he's so
My
awesome
God.
because I remember the importance of my pastors telling us that it's just surround her with worship, surround her with the word, surround her with these things. Because, what happens is we understand that we have life and everything, but when we surround ourselves in those moments with those things that God has given us to allow the Holy Spirit to take us somewhere.
Right.
You know what I mean?
Oh my God.
The whole atmosphere. My aunt just passed recently from COVID.
Wow. Oh, I'm sorry.
And I was just telling my cousin, I said, you know what? See, we think this is and this is going to help a lot of people. We think that when somebody is absent from this physical world, but see, you realize when we're here on the physical world, I can't get to you. I can only get to the people right next to me.
Right. Oh my God.
But when we go to that eternal place, we become like God. We become omnipresent. Yeah. We can go. We can, you know what I'm saying? And so God was saying, not go, but you know what I mean? The energy and the spirit of it. So God was saying, he said, look, because my cousin was taking it really hard. And God told him, he said, look, he said, when you get into those places where it's just unbearable for you to go on, begin to worship me, because as you worship me, I will allow a supernatural connection with you and your mother.
Yeah.
And that is something that, whether we're in the church or out of the church.
Right.
You know what I'm saying? But I told you that when she went through that, and my daughter also ended up having 2 open heart surgeries. And it was interesting because, at first I was like believing God for a miracle. So I didn't want her to have surgeries.
Yeah.
But I realized that God gave the wisdom to these doctors.
Come on.
And I have to yield myself and understand that that's okay.
That's right.
And so she went through these open heart surgeries. She ended up having the actual doctor that Bill Clinton had, and all these other.
Wow.
Yeah. So she had the best of the best. And you would think, I really was like struggling at that time because I had just left the industry and hadn't moved forward with any music because I was so hands-on with her. So I had to go back and work a job and all kinds of things. And I remember my manager at the time, she was playing my song because it was before we opened up. She was like, "What did you sing?" And so I brought it in one day for her to listen to it. And so she's playing it, and we're enjoying it. And then we have to open the store up. So we're opening the store, and this guy comes in there, and he's walking around, and he's bopping, and and he was like, "Oh, where y'all get this song from?" He goes, "Where y'all get this song from?" And my manager goes, "That's her." He was like, "You're not giving him love he can feel today." And then he said, "Girl, I'm a female impersonator and I do your song."
Oh,
and
wow.
Oh, that's so nice. But I wanted to go up under the counter at that
point. Right. That's funny. Okay, great.
Do a whole lot of humility, a whole lot of stuff. And I know that he took me through these things. I always say that God he used my daughter's heart to deal with my heart.
Oh my gosh. That's beautiful.
Interesting?
Oh my God. So, that's amazing.
Yeah. But today she's 25 years old. I'm sorry. She had 2 open heart surgeries when she was 7 and 11. And she's never had any medication. She's never been on any other thing, as far as helping her live. She's just totally like everybody else,
Right.
In fact, they're amazed because they're like, well, with dextrocardia comes Down syndrome and a whole list of other diseases.
Wow.
And she has nothing. She just had the reversed heart and the 2 holes that had to be repaired.
Wow. Praise God that she is thriving and doing her thing. So shout out to her on tonight, and to you for being able to not only balance what you had to do during that season or those seasons, but also to be able to tap into the revelation from God, and to hear his voice and to still be able to do your gift. And I like how you shared about the genres and how, it's just how God moves as that living water, that flow. And I remember dancing as a dancer. I'm a dancer. And so I remember my pastor coming to see me, and this was years ago, and I was doing a hip hop dance at that time. It was different levels, but I remember being very embarrassed. I'm like, oh my God, he sees me at church every Sunday and he's coming to see here. But it was so wonderful that when God speaks to a pastor or a man of God or a woman of God, and they can still see beyond what the world might be saying or seeing. And they know that there's still God in there, and they know God is still speaking, and they may understand, you know what, this is Sherida's outlet right now, but I know what God's doing, because God's not going to take his hand off of our lives just because I did a hip hop dance, just because you sung a secular song. God's hand is staying there. He's the same yesterday, today, and evermore. So our yesterday sin, God's hand was still there. Our today sin, God's hand is still there. And so I'm glad you're sharing this, because tonight people have to understand, we got to stop judging and kind of realize what's going on, the full perspective.
Yeah.
Of what's happening.
You know what we do? I'm going to tell you what happens is we see gifts that come into the church, and at the time they may be sick, because that's what it is, a hospital. So we see gifts, and the first thing we want to say is, oh, you can't do the world, you a bishop, or you can't do this, you're an evangelist. Well, if I am a singer and I go out into the world, wouldn't I benefit more evangelizing in that area than for you to tell me to go here and then my land dries up?
Right. Come on. Yes.
So we have to get wisdom to where, because for so long we would say, oh, you can't do worldly music, and you can't do worldly music, because I was a worship leader as well. So you can't do worldly music and be a worship leader.
Wow.
Yes, you can.
Wow.
Because when the river is pure and the intent is pure at heart, God still has his way. God still has his way. Come on, somebody on tonight. God still has his way. Listening and watching, God still has his way. I love that. Yeah. So with that being said, because I mean, your foundation and just how you have just evolved and what you're doing, your gift, the ministry, etc. Aside from Uncle Howard, who else is who was an influencer as you developed, in this industry? Who's an influencer for you? Wow, I would have to say it's definitely been Whitney Houston for me. Because it was just always just the fact that she could open, and this is what I love. It's so funny, because people are always like, oh my God, you just sound like an angel, you sound like this, and you sound, and they're always connecting it to that. But they don't really realize is that because I'm a worshiper, there are things that manifest through that. There's things that manifest through that. There's a lot of things that manifest through that. And see, that's the thing that God would have us to do, is to be in position so that those that can't get to them can get to us. And we will have and they can see that, we live life and live it more abundantly, because that's how we are supposed to live it as believers, Right. I finished a song called, one of the songs on my album is called, Save People Like to Have Fun Too. That's
right. No.
I have to do that, because I want people to understand this is why marriages are really struggling in the church.
Oh, wow.
God said, I will take care of the church. Okay. So when you have a wife, take care of your wife. When you have a husband, take care of your husband, take care of the significant, your person, because that's your first ministry, your family. Right. That's where and that's why it was so easy for me, even though my heart was like, okay, I just got where I wanted to get in life with my music, but even though it wasn't totally easy, but it was easy to walk away and see her. I'm going to tell you something. We were talking about miracles and stuff, and how one of the things that my doctor, remember we out of the mouth of babes, and how they can say things to us that really just bring so much wisdom and so much insight, to us at the moment. I remember when she was 11 years old, she looked at me. Well, they give you the oral anesthesia before they completely knock you out, So I'm able to talk with my daughter a little bit more before she, completely goes under. And so then me and the doctor noticed that it was getting close. So, I'm like, okay, Gabby, mommy's going to be right here when you open your eyes. Her name's Gabrielle. So I said, I'm going to be right here when you open your eyes. And she's like, okay, mommy. And I went to I loved on her and everything. And I went to push the door open, and I'm a crybaby. So my thing is, okay, I said, I didn't want that to be the last thing she saw, because I wanted her to see that we can do this, know? And so I'm trying to push that door open, and Gabby says, well, Mom, I'm not scared. And I was like, oh, Gabby, I'm so happy. I'm so happy, you know, and I'm just trying to walk out that door, you know. And she goes, well, don't you want to know why? And even the doctor was stunned when she did this. And I said, and so I had to turn around and give her my undivided attention. And I said,
Yeah.
yeah, tell me why. Tell me why. And you know what she said? She said, because I know God is with me.
Oh my
You know what God
gosh.
said to me in that moment? He said that whatever his will was,
Ah, come on.
that it is well.
It is
And
well.
it came from her. You know what I'm saying? To bring confirmation to me,
Jesus.
because I
Yes.
needed that at that moment.
Right.
You know, this is her second one. So I needed
Right.
that because I had all the faith for the first one.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? But the
Yeah.
second is coming now. And I was like, okay, God.
Yeah.
You know, so God spoke
Wow.
to me through her. And I was like, and even until this day, when I look at her, she's such a strong, courageous
My God.
woman. And it's like, you know, she took her first girl trip by herself with her girlfriends to Atlanta. And so she know how I am. She's like sending me locations. She's sending me this.
Right. Right. She's
I'm like,
doing
okay,
what she
Gabby,
should.
one day I'll let you go.
But not today.
Not
Okay.
But we have Gabby's Heart Foundation and
Wow.
that we're building. And the interesting thing is how God is now passing the baton. Because now,
Wow.
yeah, it was my story to speak about her, but now it's her story to speak of her.
Come on.
You know?
Oh,
Yeah.
amazing. This is amazing. And I mean, I'm amazed at how she was like, in so many words, Mom, I'm good. I got this because God's got me. Okay,
Yeah.
that's the first
Oh
fall
my
out your
goodness.
chair, but keep
Yeah.
your seatbelt on statement of tonight, you know. And
Yeah.
the fact that now with developing Gabby's Heart Foundation, she can share her story. And I just believe there's going to be so many nuggets in her story that
Absolutely.
they're going to still blow you away as
Yeah.
mom. They're gonna blow
Absolutely.
mom
I see
away.
that.
Yeah. And people are just gonna be so inspired, encouraged in that strength.
Mhm.
And it's what we need, especially for that age group, even now with
That's right.
life and the things that they experience. So
That's
that
right.
is an amazing story. And I
Yeah.
applaud her for that courage.
Yeah,
It's awesome.
she even went through Make-A-Wish Foundation because she was failing to thrive. You know,
Wow.
they didn't expect her to make it. So they're like, okay,
Wow.
at 9 years old, what do you want to do? She wanted to go to Disney. We'll take our whole family to Disney World. So we even did all that, you know.
Right.
And now look at her 25 years later.
25 years old. You can't tell me that God's not real and he's not
Hello.
all powerful. And
And
he gets the final say.
hey, and this is why I can say, people are like, why are you so humble? Why are you so this? Because I know who I submit to. He's great and he's greatly
Yeah.
to be praised. So
Oh my
I can
God.
only be humble to the greatness that he gives, that he allows me to, that he shares with me, you know,
Yeah.
because taking my daughter through what he's taken her through and
Right.
to look at her, it's like she's been in the fire, but she doesn't have a scent of it on her.
Oh my God.
A scent of it on her. I mean, she has the scar. I remember when she first got her scar, when she first wanted her first bikini. And I think she was about maybe 14 years old. And me being mom, I'm like, Gabby,
Right.
you sure you want a bikini?
Right.
I always bought her the cover.
Right.
You know how kids
Cover
can be, they
you
want to ask and, you know, things like that and touch. And
Right.
so so she came to me, she says, Mom, I want a bikini. I said, are you sure? You know, I went into my little story and she says, yeah. She said, this is who I am. And she pointed to the scar. She said, this is who I am. So I'm telling you, I told Gabby, I said, you might as well get ready because there's some things that God spoke to you.
Oh my God.
The times that you were going through things you may not remember, but I'm believing God and I'm praying to bring it back to your remembrance. And not only that, like at work, she'll wear shirts and you can see her scar, you know?
Yeah.
And so people will come up to her. This one lady came up to her and her son was getting ready to go through open heart surgery.
Oh my God.
Gabby was able to say, hey, it's okay. You're going to be all right. Because I've been there.
Wow.
And it was such a blessing, you know, and she's not afraid to do it.
Yeah.
You know, she knows that this is who I am. And if I can help, she's watched me long enough use my journeys to help other people where she knows that's the routine.
She can do that. Right. To help some other. She's the walking word. She's the walking oil of healing. Yes. She's that one that will bring that healing oil and deliver some mindsets about beauty, about looking, about the outside. Look how God even turned that around to how you were feeling as a young woman. And then here she is, you know, has the scar and she's like, no, I'm bad. I'm good.
Oh, I like that. I like that.
Yes, yeah, that's what I feel hearing you share her story. So shout out to you, Gabby. We know you're gonna hear this show at some
That's
point,
right.
and we are proud of you. And you keep going. We have your back 100%.
Yeah.
That is awesome. So did this situation, or was it just the industry, inspire your books? Because you've also written books.
Yes, I have two books in front of me. Let me turn that around. Oh, I have two books in front of me.
Awesome.
And this one is titled Ugly Duckling No More. I'll talk about that one
Wow.
first. And it talks about my journey and things I went through and the importance of what we speak to our younger generation. And it's not just for young people, because like I said, it's even as an adult, some of us have to look in the mirror at some things that, we have to be honest about,
That's right.
How do I think this way? Because it was said to me, so now
Yes.
so now that's where this book comes in, where it now becomes your journey. And it has areas to where you can log your journey in with this, so whatever it is that you're facing, one of the things, how we always hear, okay, look in the mirror, put a sign up in the mirror and say that those are the things that you'll quote every day, excuse me. Well, one of the things that I say, I don't agree with that. I agree with this. I agree with cover that mirror up.
Come on.
Okay. And learn to love yourself without seeing yourself.
Oh
Because
my
the
gosh.
you're speaking to the inner beauty. You're speaking to that inner person. Okay. Because that's what the book is about. It comes from this book comes from Ugly Duckling. And it's about how Noter, how when he had hid himself from the world because he didn't look like everybody else.
Right.
And he had all these gifts and all these good things about himself to share with everybody, but he was, I can't go out there.
Yeah.
They're going to laugh at me. They're going to treat me some kind of way. I can't do it. And so he hid himself in a cave, but he evolved.
Wow.
He turned into that beautiful swan. But what happened? His mindset was still that ugly swan.
Look at that.
So we have to begin to speak to our inner person without the mirror,
right?
Without any of that, and then allow that to grow, and then remove that, and you'll see the beauty within. You'll see the beauty the way you're supposed to see it.
Come on, the way you're supposed to see it.
Okay, I have two granddaughters, and they're gorgeous little girls, But I tell them all the time, listen, where's beauty at? And they will tell you, beauty is in my heart. Because if it's not in my heart, it will not show on my face.
Oh my God, that's it. That's it. Oh my God, for such a time as this, little Esther's. Yeah, I mean that is phenomenal. That's what I want to call them, little Esther's, because that's part of it. It is inside. It's a journey inside, and even us as adults, we need this, and we have to keep doing this. And I love how you say cover the mirror. Whereas you go to so many places, I've even been to conferences, and we're looking at ourselves in mirrors and we're speaking to ourselves. But I can speak all day, but I have to believe it. So put the mirror down. What do I believe?
That's right.
Who does God say I am?
Yes.
And how do I internalize that?
That's right.
Put the mirror down. So
because that mirror is not a reflection of you. You're in the image and the likeness of God. So if that's the case, that mirror is not a reflection of who you are.
Right.
You know what I'm saying? The mirror is the word of God. That will
be the word of God.
Reflection of who you really are. And that's why, and these books will lead you to want to, seek things in the word, to where now, because I was that timid little girl who I had eczema on my face really bad. I remember being in 7th grade. I failed 7th grade for lack of attendance. And I wouldn't go to school. Amazing. I had eczema that was like on my face. If it cracked, it was just really ugly and it was disgusting and ugly. And then I had acne really bad, And then I remember going sled riding, and the sled turned around, and I had long red hair, and the sled turned around, and I ended up busting my head and had to get stitches, and that much of my hair shaved off in the back of my head. Now I think I was about 11 years old when that happened.
Wow.
And so my mom, having mixed hair, she didn't know what to do with my hair, so she sent me to my aunts. My aunts put a perm in my hair and then turned around and put a Jerry curl on my hair.
Oh,
so
my
goodness. I struggled going through identity crisis, finding out who I am. And now here's my uncle bringing in all these beautiful LA girls. And I'm like,
come on.
So because you taught me to evaluate myself based on what I look, what I see, I'm not growing like I should. So it took me to, and that's what God did. When I got into ministry, I believe that it wasn't so much ministry anymore than it was the relationship that God wanted me to get the full understanding of who I was and who he was in me.
Right. My
And
God.
it took me to go through that to be bold as a lion. I remember my pastor would tell me, because I would get up and minister, and I would still minister out of a little timidness.
Yeah.
You know?
Yeah.
And I knew that I flowed prophetically, but I would still, but then once I got out of that place, it became a whole nother level of confidence, a whole nother level of, because now I don't rely on my own strength or count on my own understanding or any of that.
Right.
On the Holy Ghost.
Yes. Yes. That is amazing. So with these books, because this is powerful, how do people get the books? Because we want to make sure they know how, because this is powerful. How do they get the books?
Well, they should be available on all platforms, the ebooks, everything, Amazon, late August. We will have them definitely available late August.
Okay, fantastic, because we definitely want to get the books and help, share the message of this. It's such a need for it. I can't even just say it enough. But for a final word of wisdom as we begin to wrap up the show, I mean, there's so much more I want to talk about, but I know that I'm under a time limit. But I mean, the nuggets you're sharing with us today, phenomenal. I mean, those of you that are listening and watching tonight, I believe you're already encouraged and that you're still thirsty for more. So don't worry, we're going to bring her back at some point. But Tiffany, share with us any final word of wisdom that you want to leave with our listening and viewing audiences on tonight.
I would love to. In writing the books, I realized one thing, and then also researching other books that are out there and things like that. When it comes to the the movement to where I'm going to do me, and there are so many of us women that get locked into that. I'm going to do me. And one interesting thing that I realize is that we're not at our best unless we're giving. So when we clog ourselves up, now don't get me wrong, it's important to have your me time, but you have to ask yourself, what am I putting in me when I have my me time? Because if I'm not putting in me anything that's going to now exude life for somebody else,
right?
You know what I'm saying? And so that's what I would like to leave with everybody, is just to understand the importance of the self-love is so important, and that's not all what this book is about, but also understanding that self-love, we as humans are not at our best unless we're giving.
That is so true.
So don't stay there with self-love. Learn that self-love is going like this so that it can go like this.
That's awesome. That's it. I love it. Did y'all get that? So tonight I want you all not only to pour in, but then pour out. Come on. That is our movement for tonight. Pour in and pour out tonight. Tiffany, thank you. Self-love. It is an act of not only making sure you love on who you are, but then giving, and giving again. Beautiful. Listen, Tiffany, thank you so much for joining our platform on tonight. Amazing, empowering, and inspiring nuggets. We appreciate you for coming in, and we definitely want to see you again, if that's okay.
Just follow me. I'm here. I love talking.
Awesome. Well, listen, family, this wraps up our show on tonight. That's all the time we have, but stand by for more of Late Night TV with Jerry Royce Live. And guess what? MVP Jam.
Thank you, Sherida Lovelace. I hope everybody enjoyed that interview, because I sure did. But right now, it's time for us to throw down on MVP Jam. That's right, this is Music Video Profile. This is where we profile all the independent gospel and Christian hip-hop artists from around the country, from around the world, right here. So sit back and enjoy yourself, because I know you're going to have a great time. I know you're going to feel the power. I know you're going to feel the Holy Ghost right here, right now. You're going to feel it. Feel the power. I'm Jerry was live worldwide, aka the Batman of Charm City. MVP Jams.
reflection. Like I'm looking at myself. If I'm being honest, you make me lose direction. I can't focus. Such a strong connection. A one-time insurrection. Storm the walls of my heart for love's great resurrection. You love me, you love me. I love you, yeah. Sometimes forever be connected to you. This time I'm being patient, so patient. Confirm your dedication. Not taking no sweet words, just action affirmations. You love me, you love me. I love you, soul ties forever be connected to you.
Alongside Juma Grant, hey, King Jesus, you are the solution. Open up your eyes, analyze and realize you are the only option. Accepting all your life, yeah. King Jesus, you are the solution. Open up your eyes, analyze and realize you are the only option. Accepting all your life, yeah. Well, I've been told in this road with me heavy load. Nothing now when me I go find some rest. Things I get a little tight. Trials every day, but me still I give thanks to God for life and for another day. Me I look on the sky. Me chant a prayer to the Father fi guide up me ways. Me not go change up me mind. Me fi worship King Jesus in truth and spirit. King Jesus, you are the solution. Open up your eyes, analyze and realize you are the only option. Accepting all your life, yeah. King Jesus, you are the solution. Open up your eyes, analyze and realize you are the only option. Accepting all your life, yeah.
Man shall not live by bread alone, but by every word from Abel. It's what we need to travel this rugged road. The solution is in our Savior, King Jesus.
Open up your eyes, analyze and realize you are the only option. Accepting all your life, yeah. King Jesus, you are the solution. Open up your eyes, analyze and realize you are the only option. Accepting all your life, yeah. But boy, no time is left, I know where you figure behind. Build a dream, postpone life, you have a chance to change. Just like I want to see us spread the message of a wise man. There's no playing games, no black paper, don't be blind. You got to give him all the loving and the respect that he needs. Living with the confidence, believing in yourself. Understanding what the teachers of most I want us be. Hey, yeah. Oh, na, na. King Jesus, you are the solution. Open up your eyes, analyze and realize you are the only option. Accepting all your life, yeah. King Jesus,
cartel. And I've been on this Christian journey for a long, long time. And I just want to tell you my testimony today. If you allow me. I've been traveling this road so long, sometimes feeling I can't go on. God has been there, He's been there every step of the way. Yes, up your journey I've had to climb, even with pain and heartache sometimes. But God has been there, He's really been there every step of the way. I want each and every one of you to know every step. Yes, He has. He's been there every step, every step of the way. It's good to know. I realize He's been there for me every time. Every step. I want you to know right now that God has been there every step. I can't thank Him enough for being there for me. You know, I feel good right now. Can I just sing a little bit more reality, if you don't mind? Listen. I've been up and I've been down, sometimes almost level to the ground. But God has been there. You know what? Every step of the way. Yes. Listen. A heavy load is hard to bear, but through it all, God showed me that He cared. Every step. He's been there. Every step of the way. I want everybody to know that He's been there. Yes, I do. Every step. Not one, not two. But you know what? Every step. Every. Anybody feel like I feel when you look back over your life and you see what God has brought you through? Help me say every step. Not one, not two, not three, not four, but every step. Every little step. Every step of the way.
What's up, fam? What's up, fam? It's me, Jade, Royce Worldwide, aka the Batman Charm City. I hope you guys enjoy that sequence of videos on MVP Jams. That's right, this is where we profile the videos. But we'd like to know your opinion and comment. So please hit us up on Facebook, or you can email me at jaderoycelive@gmail.com. Or again, you can hit me at Jade Royce Live on Facebook and Instagram. Take care, everybody. We hope to see you back next week with more Christian hip-hop videos and gospel. Take care, everybody. Good night.